You've got an image converted into black and white, grayscale, and if you remember, this is the one we did in the previous segment, made that Ansel Adams kind of look to it. I want to do a couple more things to make it look older. One thing characteristic of older images is that they had a grain to them. They looked grainy. Another one might be it would have a tone or a tint to it, like a brown or a sepia. That's not really part of the original image. It's because of age. Oxidized chemicals left in paper would cause the images to tint or to tone. And although in reality it would be just as gray as the one we see, that's another thing that makes us say it's an older image. So maybe we want to do both of those things. Let's first concentrate on the grain. We need to make this image look grainy. What I'm going to do is we have, of course, our black and white adjustment layer that's making all of this work. I want to put a layer between these two, and I'll explain that in a minute, a blank layer. So I'm going to select background, and I'm going to click the new button here. When you have a layer selected and you click the new button, the new layer will always be placed above the layer you had selected. We'll double click on it right here and call it grain, because that's what we're about to do. I want you to fill that layer with black. We have black as a color over here. You click this button here, and that makes these go to default to black and white, or you could press the letter D on your keyboard by itself. The shortcut is hold down the Alt key and the backspace key in Windows, or hold down the Option key and the Delete key on a Macintosh, which is the shortcut for filling an area or a layer with the current foreground color. Okay, we've got that done. Come up here to the word filter, go down to the word noise and say add noise. We're going to add this grain look to it. Now our noise filter does have options. And our noise filter we want as monochromatic, don't add any color, uniform or Gaussian. Gaussian's a little bit more random. That's what we want, but we could tone that down just a little bit. Something about like that. Again, you could try and experiment with different amounts to see what you like. Click OK. Of course, we can't see our image yet, so we're going to use a blending mode. We're going to select the grain layer. We're going to go into normal for blending mode and go down to screen. Now, what screen does is any areas of that layer that are darker than the underlying layer will go transparent. All the black should go away. If we select screen, as you can see, that's too intense, but it screened out the black. We're left with all the white. A little bit more than what I want. So I'm going to come up here to opacity for the grain layer, and I will move this back until I see what I like. Now again, I want it to look grainy because that's the way this image would look today. One more thing would be a tint. Now here's the reason why I'm putting this layer above this one, because I want the tint to apply to everything. So if we select black and white again, you will notice one of our options right here is tint. If we select tint, we can add a tint to this image. We can lower the opacity of the layer if we don't like the tint, or we can click here if we don't like the color of the tint. The whole idea is we're trying to create an image, age an image that isn't that old, to make it look a lot older than it really is. We accomplish the aging by using a black and white adjustment layer, another layer called grain that we filled with black, added some noise to, changed the blending mode and reduced the opacity, all for the goal of making an image look older than it really is.